much for all of the ghost stories I've received. I've had so many that I'm going to share a couple at a time in the lead up to Halloween to get you in that spooky mood. Today's stories are from Ashleigh from Northampton, New Hampshire, and Beverly from Kent in the United Kingdom. I'm going to do Ashleigh's first. Ashleigh explains that they have a group of islands called the Isles of Shoals off the coast from where she lives. And the story she is sharing is one of the ghost stories of the islands. Ashleigh stayed the night in the place she's talking about, and she got a creepy feeling. But she didn't see or hear any ghosts, unfortunately. Here's Ashleigh's story. About 150 years ago, in 1873, the Isles played host to one of the most famous murders in the state of New Hampshire history. This is where the story of 3 women unfolded. 2 never made it off the island, and the 3rd barely escaped with her life. Maren and John Hontvet were the sole residents of Smutty Nose Island back in the 1870s. That is, until fisherman Lewis Wagner arrived and became friends with the couple. Over time, a bond developed and John hired Lewis. He soon moved into the Hontvets' home. It was around this time that Maren's sister moved to the island, followed by Maren's brother and sister-in-law, Annette. Before long, all were living under the same roof. All was well until Lewis moved back to the mainland for work. Things didn't turn out well for him, and he soon found himself with no money at all. He hatched a plan to rob the Hontvets on a night when the 2 men of the house were out of town. Lewis managed to row the 12 miles back to Smutty Nose, where he found the 3 women ready for bed. While the plan was for Lewis to rob the house and leave, he mistakenly woke Karen. Presumably to avoid witnesses, Lewis attacked Karen with a chair and killed Annette with an axe blow to the head. Maren soon knew she could do nothing to save the 2 women, and she ran for her life. She spent the entire freezing winter night hiding under a rock on the coastline of the island. After searching the island for Maren with no success, Lewis returned to the house to make himself a cup of coffee. In the process, he left bloody handprints. He then fled. Maren spent the entire night outside. It wasn't until 8 a.m. that she went looking for help, finally attracting the attention of workers on a nearby island. Police were called in, and Lewis's boat was found abandoned in Newcastle. He was found on a train to Boston and arrested that evening. Despite an escape attempt from his Portsmouth jail, he was hanged for the murders on June the 5th, 1875. Justice was served, but the ghosts of Karen and Annette are said to still roam the island searching for peace. Some say they can hear their screams. Others say that they've heard the cry of Maren, who spent the murderous night hiding under the rock. Thank you to Ashleigh for that story. And here's Beverly's story. I'll tell it as she tells it. I worked for many years in stage management and in the late 1980s was employed as the deputy stage manager for a summer season of plays performed in the gardens at Hever Castle. I'm a maid of Kent and was living in Maidstone at the time, so it was always wonderful to have a job I could return home to every night after the show. A rare thing for a touring theatre worker. Rehearsals and show productions started in the late spring for opening in early June. This is in the days before mobiles, email and Zoom, and usually the only contact home was a payphone or letters. I've always been a great letter writer and would buy local cards for my loved ones to send while on tour. I had visited the gift shop at Hever Castle a few days before and bought 4 postcards of a portrait of Anne Boleyn to send at a later date. The cards were in a white paper bag with the castle's logo on, in a closed box next to my bed. I was at home on my own at this time. My late husband had been in the south of France for nearly a week, visiting his sick mother, who'd been taken into hospital. The only other being in the house was our big ginger cat, Charlie. So, as we were still in rehearsals, I needed to be at work during the day. I left home at about 8:15 a.m. to be at Hever Castle at around an hour later to account for the morning traffic. As the crow flies, Hever wasn't far, but the road's winding and a lovely drive to be enjoyed at that time of day before the road gets too busy with castle visitors when the grounds opened later in the morning. My day was routine as far as the work went, nothing out of the ordinary. Hever Castle is a wonderful place to be early in the morning as the staff prepare the castle for the day. I wasn't working in the evening at this point, and most theatre workers do relish an evening at home when they get the chance. I arrived home at about 6:30 p.m. and on opening the door, as I picked up the post on the doormat, I noticed a postcard halfway up the hall. I thought it must have just bounced there when the postman delivered it. I noticed it had a picture on as I picked it up. It was the portrait of Anne Boleyn, and when I turned it over, there was the logo of Hever Castle on it, with no writing on it. My house was on 3 levels. You then went up a few steps to go to the kitchen, then a few more steps up to the bedroom. As I got to the kitchen door, there was a second identical card outside the kitchen door. A third, a flight up outside my closed bedroom door. On my bed was a 4th card. I checked the box by the side of the bed, and the Hever Castle bag was still there. The blank postcards of Anne Boleyn's portrait were gone, and they were, of course, the ones I'd found lying around the house. I have to say, there was nothing odd in the feeling around the house. It felt calm and undisturbed, but the event completely unnerved me. But Charlie the cat didn't seem bothered by the experience, and nothing like that ever happened again. Whatever had visited had certainly left. At Hever Castle the next day, I told the story to one of the castle's tour guides as we had a cup of tea together. She pointed out that the date that this had happened was May the 19th, the anniversary of Anne Boleyn's execution. Until she said that, I hadn't connected it. I don't know if Anne left her card at my home on the anniversary of her death. My house was virtually in the shadow of Leeds Castle, and I was working at Hever, her family home. How the cards got out of a closed box in a closed bedroom is still an unexplained mystery I shall never have an answer to. But while I worked at Hever Castle after the event, I had a small vase of flowers for Anne Boleyn, along with the portrait postcard on my desk. I hope she noted my respect, especially as I spent so much time in her home. I wonder to this day if she visited my home. What wonderful stories. Oh, feel quite spooky now. I'm glad I have a husband and dogs to share the bedroom with tonight, because those have got me quite edgy. So thank you, Ashleigh and Beverly, for your 2 wonderful ghost stories. There'll be more coming soon. Take care. Do remember you can subscribe to this channel by clicking around about there. You can hit the bell to be notified as these videos go live. And you can, of course, give me a like and leave a comment. I'll be back soon with some more spooky stories. Bye-bye.